your life is worth getting messy for.
Yeah.
Your needs are worth getting messy for. And trusting yourself to get messy on behalf of what it is that you want to create, it's worth it.
Welcome to That Explains a Lot. Real conversations about this messy, magical life.
We talk about the things that don't make sense until suddenly they do.
Welcome to That Explains a Lot. My name is Natalie Ledwell.
And I'm Susan Patrick, and we're super excited that you're here today because we're going to be talking about the messy middle and why growth feels worse before it feels better. And Nat and I have to divulge that if you were here before we pressed record, you'd have seen how messy it was. So we're really glad to be here today.
Yes, the middle part of this was not pretty.
No, and it did not feel good. So we're living out
No,
this message right now, you know?
that's right. Yeah.
And, uh,
You don't get
because
to
this
see that
episode,
part.
'cause we didn't want to
But
show you that part.
yeah. So today is really talking about what that uncomfortable feeling or that part where maybe you're going through a transition, but you don't know what's on the other side. Maybe you need to set new boundaries with the people in your life.
Mm,
And setting the boundary is one thing, but then enforcing the boundary is a whole other kettle of fish.
yep.
So that can always be really difficult as well. But especially if you're going through a change of some kind or a shift of some kind,
Mhm.
it can feel awful. It can
Holy
feel
shit. Sorry. Holy shit,
exactly.
Batman. It says, and how do you not give up on yourself? How do you not quit yourself in
Yeah,
in the process?
yeah. And I think that if you're feeling uncomfortable, then you're in the right place.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
change very rarely is easy and simple and quick and without any kind of challenges. There is always something new to get used to, and
Mhm.
that could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
your yeah your behavior. Or it could be someone around you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And that nobody's exempt from the process.
hmm,
Like even though we've been through this before, we've had some levels of changes through our life. I think I still am surprised at the fact that I'm like, really, I still have to go through this. It's like, and reminding myself that discomfort doesn't mean that I'm doing it wrong. I think it often kind of means that something real and something valuable is needing to shift or change or pivot. And sometimes that's totally disorienting, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you think about my family. I'm like from a quite a large family, and I remember when I left home and moved to Sydney, and even moving to the US. You change as a person.
Mhm.
My career's changed, my business has changed, where I live changed. And it would be jarring going back home sometimes because some of my siblings would still be interacting with me like they did when I was a kid.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like,
I mean, always.
I'm not quite that person anymore. I've changed into something different. Or even like the end of my marriage. Like,
Mhm.
I have the phrase that I coined around that time is with Glenn was that like, look, it's not over. It's just different. Our relationship
Yeah,
is just
I loved
different.
that. I love
Yeah.
that, right? It's not over, it's just different. I love that. I would say marriage is temporary, divorce is forever,
Yeah.
and so it's not over, it's just different.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
we had to learn how to be with each other, like how, because, we're
totally.
still business partners.
That's
So,
right.
but the rules of engagement were different,
Totally,
you
totally.
know?
I know for me, as I've matured, I've really learned that I used to believe it was like more people, more fun.
Mm.
And then I realized that's not really true because the depth of relationship that I thought I was having with people wasn't really they weren't fulfilling me. So even though I had a lot of people in my life, they weren't necessarily really fulfilling what the needs I had, right? So I had to start setting some boundaries, and that was really uncomfortable for me. Um because I'm a yes person. I'm like, "Woo!
Yeah.
Yes, let's do it. Let's go."
Well,
But then I'm
that's
like,
why you
"Oh,
and
wait
I
a
are
minute."
friends.
That's right. But there's a depth in our friendship that I've
Yes.
like, and what I've cleared out, Nat, this is true. What I have cleared out are those people that, yes, I want to hang out with yes people, but I want to hang out with yes people that have depth and that actually care about my depth and
Yeah.
I care about their depth. And I've had to set some real boundaries around like, wait a minute. Am I getting myself am I getting my needs met in this dynamic in this relationship? And
Yeah.
um and how people when you start questioning and asking for what you need, some people are going to clear out of your lives. They're going to
Mm.
be like, "Okay,
Well,
I'm out of
so
here."
what I hear you saying is that there's always a lot of self-assessment going on, and even with the end of my marriage, like we were married for around 20 years. Now, who I was at the beginning of that 20 years and who I was at the end were two completely different people.
Totally.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's okay to reassess and go, okay, well, no, what I want now has changed.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with voicing that. That's actually
Yeah.
a really good, healthy thing to do.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I'm having that situation with my dad, and there's some ways that he's been showing up that now adult Susan, it's not working for me. And I've had to set some boundaries around that relationship. And really that piece of validating that if I'm not getting my needs met, it's okay for me to speak up on my behalf
Yeah,
and disrupt the status quo. I think a lot
yeah,
of women are worried about disrupting the status quo and worried about that mess. It's right, the messy middle. It's like, well, if I just don't say anything, it won't get messy. And so how
yeah,
many of us as women, we just silence our own voice because we're like, oh, well, I don't want to upset the apple cart. I don't want to make this messy. But you know what? Your life is worth getting messy for.
yeah,
Your needs are worth getting messy for. And trusting yourself to get messy on behalf of what it is that you wanna create, it's worth it,
yeah.
right?
And I
But it's
think
gonna be
what we
messy.
mean by well, yeah, so what we mean by messy is that it can show up in different ways.
Mhm.
It could show up with irritability. You're snapping at everyone around you, and you find yourself being short with everyone. You're like, oh, wait a minute, what's happening here?
Yeah.
You could even feel like a little low or down or gray, and part of that could be realizing or grieving the fact that there is an aspect of you
Yeah.
that you're releasing, that you're
Mhm.
shedding.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
you're like you were saying, Susan, you had to shed friendships and relationships because
Mhm.
it wasn't fitting who you are right now,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And loving myself enough to not get down on myself when I am irritable or when I am
Mm,
feeling those feelings of grief or when I'm feeling these feelings that feel like they're messy. It's like trusting myself to go inward rather than think about how can I accommodate everybody outward to keep the peace.
yeah,
Right? That
yeah,
doesn't mean that I'm not responsible and that I'm just not being caring about people around me. It's that I'm actually being really caring about myself. And I think
yeah.
that's the work.
Well, it is the work because otherwise, you feel like you're being selfish. Or
Mhm.
you feel like, why am I gonna mess all of this up? Like,
Yeah.
got a good thing going on here, most of the times in my marriage, I would acquiesce a lot,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
to keep peace and to everything, but then I had to start standing up for myself, and I remember it was probably a year where I was still shedding Glenn. Like, I would say something, go, "Oh, wait a minute. Is that what I think, or is that Glenn speaking?" Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it took
Yeah.
a while to get back to that. But I think that really if you're getting any of these emotions, these feelings, these symptoms, these signs
Mhm.
that are showing up
Yeah.
where you're
Yeah.
feeling out of sorts,
Mhm.
I think the
Mhm.
next step is to really sit down and create some space for yourself, create some stillness where you can just sit in and go, well, is this life or are these friendships or is this business or this career really what I still want right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Going get back to that question of what do I want? And
Yeah.
where am I in my own healing journey? And I think that for me I keep thinking is that my own healing journey, healing really is just a further step into my own self, into me, more of me, and that my healing journey it isn't linear. It's
Yeah.
really layered. And
Yeah.
and I think sometimes we get mad at ourselves when we're like, "Oh, I've already healed that." But then an element of that shows up again. And you're like, "Wait a minute, I shouldn't be here right now."
Yeah.
And I think as we get older, we can become more critical of ourselves because we're like, "Oh, shouldn't I be done with this?" No, you're never done.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you're
Well, I
not
mean,
exempt from the process.
I think our core wounds are always going to be there. We
Yeah.
just learn how to recognize when it's the core wound that's triggering the emotion in that situation rather than, going, you're making me feel this or you're bullying and blaming people outside. You realize, that's that core wound.
Mhm.
But, I love it how you're calling it a healing journey because number one, recognizing, these symptoms and things are coming up for me.
Mhm.
Number two, sitting down in stillness and going, well, where could this be coming from? Now, once you open that can of worms, you have to be prepared that for you to pursue or to heal or to lean into what that next scene could be for you, there could be some things that you'll be releasing along the way
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kind of really acknowledging that because that's going to be part of the journey.
Yeah.
You know,
And talk about I'm doing this work today, right? So I'm on the beach today and I do a dance class every Tuesday morning. And for me, dance is really important with respects to just letting the energy move through my body because there's some things you can't talk about. You just can't. You can talk about it, but it doesn't process the emotion. So I'm doing this dance, but before we got started, we all had to say a couple words to describe where we were. And it was really interesting. I said, "I'm feeling melancholy and joyful."
mm,
And it was really interesting for me to then dance in that space because I've got some stuff that's up with my dad today. Today is my dad's birthday, and I'm in my own process with that relationship. A lot of people out there are in their own process with their parent relationships that never ends. I'm sitting with both of those emotions, being melancholy, but also still feeling extremely joyful. And
yeah,
so I think part of it now is I'm getting really good at inviting all of the various parts of myself to show up in this messy process. Where I think when I was younger, I used to be like, "Oh, I'm so melancholy." And then I'd let that consume me as if it was all of it. But now, as I've matured, I can be multiple things in a moment. I can
yeah.
be melancholy and joyful in the same moment. And I have more capacity and more awareness and more tenderness to allow more of the parts of myself to show up.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I love about you the most is that you feel the feels. Like you
Man.
feel all the feels.
And then and then some.
But you're right because we can hold different emotional energy in the same moment at the same time.
Mm.
We can absolutely do that
Yeah.
because we could be focusing on one thing, maybe our future, and going, oh, I have some uncertainty around that. I have a little bit of anxiety around that because I'm not quite
Mhm.
sure, what's happening or where I'm going. I know I want to change, but I don't know what that is. But then you could also be focusing on your partner or your family and then feel happiness and gratitude.
Yeah.
That could
Yeah.
all exist at the same time.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
if you are feeling that, going, you're not the only person, and there's nothing wrong with you, because
Hmm.
this is, and I think the more that we can become aware that this is the case, then, like you said, you don't go down the melancholy, rabbit hole. You just go, okay, this is an energy that I'm feeling at this moment. I can take a deep breath. I can let it move through because I know why I'm feeling it. I know where
Hmm.
this is coming from, and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really is okay, and it's a valuable, important, beautiful part of me that doesn't need
Mm,
to be fixed. It just needs to be experienced. I think sometimes with the negative emotions, we try to like become high functioning and get like we dub them as negative emotions. What if none of your emotions are negative?
yeah.
Like
Well,
what if
how could
none
they
of it's.
possibly be?
Yeah,
How could they
exactly,
possibly
right?
be if they exist?
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm,
That I think it gets messy when we start labeling it as, okay, that's a good one and that's a bad one.
yeah. Well,
And
I
yeah.
think the way that I look at it is it's high frequency, low frequency. Every emotion
Mhm.
has a certain resonance or a certain frequency.
Mhm.
And, there are going to be days on this journey where you'll have some low frequency emotions,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
okay. You know,
Yeah. And that is
um,
so okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we definitely want to make sure that you give yourself permission
Mhm.
to be
Mhm.
able to,
Yeah.
to feel those things and not bypass them. You
No.
know,
No. No.
because you don't. I think what we're saying here is don't look at it as like a negative thing. Every emotion is a signal to you
Yeah.
to go into a little bit of introspection and going, oh, why am
Oh,
I feeling this today? What's coming up here?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of the times they're just a sign of something that you can give focus to, that you can take action on.
So talking about my dad, who I have issues with, he told me
Mm.
something that I think is very smart that I'd love to inject into this space, and
Yes,
that I love this is that we do try to make meaning of our emotions. And what if we just let ourselves have the emotion rather than really making meaning for it? So just like honoring it. Like sometimes that pit in the stomach, what we do is we have the pit in the stomach and we're like, oh my God, what is that about? Why do I feel that way? What's that? And we then try to attach a story to the emotion. And it's like,
right.
what if it's just acid reflux? What if it's just indigestion? What if it's just an emotion that needs to flow through you in the moment? So it's not about solving everything. It's about feeling it, observing it, and letting it flow through you. And see if we can just make a little bit more sense of ourselves along the way.
Yeah,
Right. But I
because I
think
think
sometimes we try to attach so much meaning to all the emotions that it's like we believe the story.
yeah,
Yeah.
I in my observation, I think a lot of us have suppressed our emotions,
Mm,
especially in younger life or whatever, for whatever reason, uh, and for us to really embrace and enjoy this journey that we're on in this part of our life, I think we have to be feeling our emotions. I think that's a really big part of learning how to lean into that, because our emotions are really going to enhance, like
yeah.
embellish everything
Yeah.
that we're going through,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so let's go further with what you're saying because I love that. Let's
Okay.
go back to the beginning of that sentence because the point of this is to really enjoy yourself.
Mm,
And how do you enjoy yourself? You get to know yourself and you give yourself permission and you experience all of yourself. Right? So that it's like how can you really enjoy the journey if you don't enjoy yourself? Like I
yeah,
enjoy my capacity to feel all the feels. Not all the feels feel good, God knows, but I enjoy that I can feel them.
yeah,
I enjoy that I have that capacity and that permission to feel them, right?
yeah,
So it's like really what does it mean to enjoy yourself? And I think sometimes when we get into that discomfort, we kind of can misread it as backsliding. Like we've done something wrong. And it's like, wait a minute, we're conditioned to believe that, if it's hard, it must be wrong, or if it's uncomfortable, we're failing. And that's not altogether true. And if it's emotional, we must be regressing. But the exact opposite is true. That we
yeah,
need to really start integrating the discomfort, that there's
yeah.
something a greater knowing.
Yeah. I want to share a little story about you and I and your emotions. And I was visiting Susan. She lived down in Playa del Carmen. And one morning we wake up and she goes, "You want to do an ice bath on the beach?" I'm like, "Never done one of those before. Sure, I would love to do that." And I even on the way down, I remember that, you were like, getting quite, I think, apprehensive, but you had a lot of emotions going. And I'm thinking to myself, should I be worried? Like, am I like I was just thinking, no, we're just going to jump in a bath kind of thing. And it was really lovely. The woman that was there running the class, she helped us, do some breath work or do a little meditation before we get in there. And they had two, so we both got in at the same time in our separate, ice baths. And I sat down, and within like a few seconds, I was just like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." And we were looking out at the ocean, and it was just gorgeous and beautiful. And I remember there was a lot of noise coming from your ice bucket. You were having a lot of you were processing a lot in the moment. So I remember when we got out, you went down to the beach and you got down on your knees and you were crying. Like you had
Yeah.
like a very emotional response. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna let you just, have your moment there." And then after a little while I came over and I went, are you okay?" And you just went, "I'm just so grateful." And I'm like, "This is gratitude?" I went, "Okay, I want me some of that. How do I get me some of that?"
Yes, but isn't it funny because for me it's like it comes off and it looks like sadness to the average person,
Mm,
right? It looks like overwhelm. Not you're not an average person, but I'm saying to most people it looks like sadness or it looks like overwhelm. Like I deeply feel, and I've
yeah,
really worked. I'm bent that way, right? I'm an emotional
yep,
person, but I've also really worked to give myself permission because I will be honest, I'm an emotional person in a world that doesn't really respond to emotion a lot of times. So I understand people stuff their emotions, people hide their emotions because they don't get validation for them.
right,
They get judgment for them. They get rolled eyes for them. They get misunderstood because of them. And what I've really learned for me is, oh my gosh, I have greater access to all of me if I hold the space to let it flow through loud,
yeah,
uncomfortably. And but but again, that's the messiness. So for me, it's like, man, I gotta get messy
yeah,
because what I receive on the other side of it is wow. But I love that that was the response from you. I got to get me some
yeah.
of that. I want the world to have more of that.
I know. Well, I aspire to feel my emotions as you do, but this is what I want for every woman that is listening to this podcast right now. That you have other women in your life that when you are having these, emotional processes and sharing your emotions like that you have someone that can hold the space for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
and
by
that
holding the
really
space,
owning. Go
I
ahead.
don't necessarily mean, getting down and being sad with you or anything like that. I
Yeah,
mean, just being able to be there, acknowledge that you're having an emotion, not say anything, not pass judgment, not try and fix, not try and do anything.
hold
Just be
space.
there and witness
Yeah, yeah,
and just
yeah,
hold space so that you can have that release in a
exactly.
space where you know that you're being held and supported by another
Yep,
friend or another woman in
yeah,
your life.
and that really resets the nervous system for both
Yeah,
people. When you can be someone who can be a real witness. And because when you're witnessing, you're stepping outside your own head, you're stepping outside your own judgment, you're stepping outside your own comparison, and you're just lovingly witnessing another human being and holding them in their space. And that does something for your nervous system, and
yeah.
boy, does it do something for the person who's being witnessed, right? So how do we do that and hold that space? And I
And
don't have
it's
to ever
taken me
be
a
like you,
lot.
and you don't have to be like me, but boy, holding each other in however it shows up
Yeah.
is
And this
friendship.
is what we're looking to create in
Yes.
our community. This
Yeah.
is what, because it's taken me a long time. It's taken me a long time to get comfortable with other people's emotions, to get comfortable with my own. And that's a whole childhood story that I don't even need to go into right now. I understand why that is the way that it is. But,
Mhm.
what we want to create is a space where, as women, we can share all this messy stuff
Yeah.
in a space where you're not getting judged,
That's right.
that you can
That's
that
right.
you can form friendships, you can have conversations that you can't have with maybe no one else in your life right now. Like maybe there's no one
Mhm.
else that you could share these kind of things or this level of conversation with.
Yeah.
So that's
And
that's our
that
hope.
level of conversation where you're with women who are really supporting you to tap into your intuition and not give into your fear.
Mm,
And I think that as we age, that fear really comes out sideways. And it's like we're all facing our mortality. That's it. We're all going to die. I
mm,
hate to break it to you. That's the end of the story, right? There's nobody's getting out alive. Number one cause of death is birth. So when you get here, you're terminal.
yeah,
And I think as you hit middle age and your body starts shifting, and there's in menopause, there's a death that occurs in your body. It's a death of the young woman that was. Physically, your ovaries are shrinking to the size of raisins. Isn't that a great visual? Yeah.
Thank you for that visual.
Is that a good visual? So the woman that you were, the fluffy young woman that you were, it is dying inside of you. So there's that death. So I think there's some mortality, and that kind of comes forward. So how do we as women support each other in our conversations and in our space to not give in to the inevitable fear that's there?
Yeah.
The fear that comes with aging, the fear that comes with the reality of looking at our lives through the
Yeah.
mortal lens, right? And say, okay, let's tune into our intuition and support each other to be in conversations of possibility so that we can feel
Yeah.
steady and we can feel calm and clear, so that we're not feeling rushed, so that we're letting go of shame, and
Yeah.
that we're allowing our lives to feel just more simple, right?
Yeah. I know. Well, have you seen the latest Bridgerton? The new season has dropped on Netflix, and
Super hot. Oh, no.
yeah,
Not as hot as
and
the first.
no, the first one was off the hook. This one, yeah, this is yeah. But because there is a scene there where the mother of all the the Bridgerton kids,
Yeah.
she's going to potentially be taking a new partner sexually.
Yes.
And there's this scene where she's, she has a robe on, and then she starts to remove the robe to look at herself naked in the mirror.
Yeah.
And the actress who plays this role, it was just amazing. And I could track all of the emotions I felt the same thing. Like, I was 45 when Glenn and I broke up, and then I'm single for the first time in my life for a little bit, like 20 years, in LA. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a lot, And, the last time I dated, I was a 20-something-year-old aerobics instructor.
Yeah.
So, looking a little different from then, but the fear and the doubt that creeps in.
Yeah.
But yeah, this actress did an amazing job of how she went from, I'm ashamed or whatever, and then she kind of went, well, actually, I don't look too bad. I actually think I look all right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is part of that journey that we're all on, whether it's, taking on a new sexual partner, whether it's
Yep.
going into a new career or a business, or just any kind of transition as life.
Mhm. Mhm.
We will go through that self-doubt. We'll go through that
Yeah.
fear. I think we all do.
Totally.
So
All
yeah.
of us. And that in that messiness, that it's that reminder to, you're not falling apart. You're just in a space of reorganization, and you're
Mm,
surrounding yourself with a sisterhood that's committed to pointing you towards your intuition, and pulling you away from giving into the fear, and
yeah.
knowing that you're not regressing, that you're really recalibrating, and that you're reminding yourself that you're not broken. um, and that this should be fun. How do you
Yeah.
play and have fun? How do you enjoy yourself?
Yeah.
Kind of going back to that space. And when it's messy, it it's actually, this is where you can kind of go back and take that deep breath and say, oh, how can I have fun in the messy? Because it's not going to be messy forever.
That's right. So we've talked a little bit about, this journey, and part of it is, taking some, introspection and going, okay, well, if I've got these things showing up, what that could be connected to, what's next for me. So our next episode is going to be all around truth telling,
Mhm.
because sometimes it can be challenging for us to be even honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're going to be diving a little bit deeper in on that subject, so that, with the truths that we maybe don't tell ourselves, or the truths that we find is difficult to share with others, but that is our new truth now at this part of our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, the messy middle is preparing you to just simply be able to tell the truth. And the truth can probably be some of the most motivating information and data if you let it in. Because sometimes we
Hmm.
deny what is most empowering. We're not telling ourselves the truth of really our own power. So
Yeah. So until next week, be kind, be gentle with yourself, and really
that's
enjoy
right.
this messy and magical life.
All right. Have a good one. If this episode made something click for you, don't stop here.
Subscribe to our Substack at Nat and Sue for more honest conversations and connection beyond the mic.
We'll see you there.